Welcome to this introductory video on course B06 using Python packages. And this introductory video will tell you about the aims, goals, or suggested resources, and the structure for this course, as well as reintroducing you to how we use PyCharm. So this builds on our previous course, B04, our Introduction to Python, where we talked about why you want to learn to code in Python, how to set up the environment, the basics of variables, lists, and mathematical operators we can use. We also looked at writing functions, conditional statements like if-else statements, and then we also looked at for loops and while loops. So it's advised that if maybe your Python's a bit rusty, to go back through some of this so that you recall what you were doing then, and that might be best achieved using your old scripts that you rerun the code and try to change a few things to understand what you're trying to do. On this course, we'll build on that. So what we're going to do is look at some revision first and the setup. We'll talk about dictionaries, which are a form of less structured arrays for where the index value is not an integer. It's instead something else. It could be a string or whatever is useful for us. We'll also look at regular expressions, which basically means matching patterns. And then we'll look at file output and file input, including CSV files. And we'll also look at modules in BioPython that we use for sequence access and downloading. In terms of the labs, the last time we looked at variables, lists, and operators, and the setup in PyCharm in the first part of Lab 1 in B04. We also looked at functions and if-else statements in Lab 2, as well as looking at while and for loops and just managing our data if we have more complex data structures. In these labs, we'll look at more advanced manipulations with lists and structures related to lists. We'll look at these things called dictionaries. We'll look at pattern matching in Lab 2, as well as file input and output and BioPython as well. So the structure for this module is arranged across different days. So we have here, you can see time before this course, so you can learn about different material that we have present. And then we'll have our first lab on Tuesday, the 4th of April at 2 in the usual place of GC14, the Flower Conference Room. And then we'll repeat that with the second lab the following Tuesday, the 11th. So in between, you'll have plenty of time to practice and after the course as well. Notionally, there's up to 20 hours learning in this course, but you probably have done some Python already and know some of the material already. So I would suspect that it would take you less. What's important to note about this learning time is that you have plenty of time to get through it all, and doing a little bit every day is the best way of approaching this. So you take things off bit by bit and don't try to tackle more than you can chew. There's a myriad of resources available depending on what you're doing. So there's our python.org guide for beginners, and there's lots of resources on this website as well. There's a really fantastic courses on YouTube on learning Python for beginners and more advanced tricks if you want to learn those too. There's resources above on python.org on strings and on dictionaries and ORI regular expressions, CSV file input output, and dictionaries elsewhere as well. So those are different resources depending on what you're trying to do. So Python is a very, very common language in bioinformatics, and understanding how to write basic scripts in it is important, as well as understanding how to use tools that already exist that are written in Python that may have been maybe a year or two old, and therefore they work to a degree, but not perfectly. So what we're going to look at is Python version 3.11, and we're going to look at all these kind of different features. So we can learn about how to manipulate strings and lists, and build up to then looking at dictionaries, which are less structured arrays. We'll look at regular expression, data input and output of files, and then also BioPython too. So we're going to learn about all those things. So this kind of comes under the theme of looking at data flow and data manipulation. And by the end of this course, you should be able to perform essential data processing tasks in Python and be able to at least be aware of how you can use BioPython. And we also want to be able to, by the end of this course, be able to read data in and out, and be able to manage our flow control of data coming in and out of our local directory. So that's our kind of aim. What we're going to talk about in the next video is our revision and setup for the whole PyCharm interface.